Good day and welcome to another exciting day on Obidati Family TV. This is Diaspora Diaries and my name is P. Catch. With me in the studio is...
If you're Grace, you're welcome to Diaspora Diaries.
Great, yes, you're welcome to Diaspora Diaries. And let me just chip in, it's Valentine's Day. Yeah,
Yeah.
so happy Valentine's to our viewers. All right, Diaspora Diaries is a program where we get to interact with Nigerians in the diaspora, in search for a better Nigeria, okay? And of course, people that are obedient, which of course makes up like 99% of Nigerians in the diaspora. Talking about Nigerians in the diaspora, today we have on the program all the way from Houston, Texas, Dare Ayanshola, otherwise known as Otumba, and he is an IT project manager, also a member of the Southwest for Peter Obi movement and Peter Obi movement for diasporans and Niger Pomdan. You're welcome to the program. It seems you're muted. Please, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, sorry. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure having me. I'm excited to be here.
All right, you're welcome. Okay, so let's talk about who you were supporting, okay, for the presidency.
Yes. My candidate for the presidency has been Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Peter Obi and Dr. Ahmed Badati for Labour Party.
Okay, of course, that's like the obvious. But would like
Oh
to know, why
yes.
are you
So why?
supporting Peter
Okay.
Obi?
Okay. You see, sorry, I should have expanded on that. Okay. I Okay, I'll just put a little background and context. So I left Nigeria in 2010, and Nigeria was still in a decent place, but we sort of felt the direction wasn't too favorable. So I came over to the US in 2010, and I sort of was politically involved. Put on the blinders and was just focused on what I came here to do, which was school. And then I think come 2014, I think 20 Boko Haram started, and then it's sort of the government at that time, the government of Goodluck Jonathan wasn't too responsive to crisis. The cheaper gas. I sort of got involved, and unfortunately, I was one of those few Nigerians that felt the old general had something to offer. Fast forward, which was a mistake. 6 months into his tenure, you could sense, oh yeah, this was a huge mistake. So, but fast forward, NSAS. I think NSAS was when something broke in me when it was NSAS was bittersweet for me. It was bitter because of the people that died, but it was sweet because that was the first time I saw Nigerians come together, especially Nigerian youths come together and organized and sustain the rally. It was I at that time I was just involved somewhat financially a little bit, but it was very inspiring. And then a couple of times I'd listened to Peter Obi. I think it was on the platform Speak, and that the way he was breaking down the cost of governance and how to reduce the cost of governance and what good governance means, and then it sort of piqued my interest, but I didn't pay attention. Fast forward 2022 was when I was on Twitter. I started seeing sorry, I was on Twitter. I started seeing, people talk about candidates and how Peter Obi should be the PDP's candidate. And I remember very well. I think there was a group that led the march to PDP secretariat and were defining for Peter Obi. So I sort of followed up, but I was still watching from a distance. I was like, I'd already given up on Nigeria. Um, but then I would go on Twitter Spaces and then listen to certain groups or certain Twitter Spaces, and people would talk about how, why Peter Obi should be the next PDP candidate, and it piqued my interest. So I started doing research, on the things he did in Anambra, and it just struck me as someone very different from who we've had for a very long time. And luckily, he made that. But then I couldn't still support him because he was in PDP. Because anything PDP APC to me was just a failure. It was a waste of time. I know how those political parties are structured, and I know how it's difficult for even if you have the greatest of intention, it's pretty difficult for you to work for Nigerians if you belong to APC or PDP. So when he made that fateful and glorious exit from PDP to Labour Party, I at that point I felt like, okay, I've always said, oh, I can't support someone in PDP or APC, but if you find me a viable thought candidate that has the capacity, the character, and the competence to actually lead Nigeria, I'll jump full behind him. So that's where I started. I actually started on Twitter Spaces. I remember then it used to be, I think it used to be IO Spaces, and then there was this guy, popular guy on Twitter called Saddam, and then N6, and they would come on those spaces, and it would just be two of them, and they would take on these APC and PDP guys about all the achievements Peter Obi has. And I'll just there and listen. And then I'll go while you're talking, I'm also on my computer looking up things. I'm like, wait a minute, we've actually had a governor like this that left over 75 billion naira. Like how? How is that even possible? Is this real? Is this guy a Nigerian? So that piqued my interest. And then from then on, I was like, you know what? This is full on. We have one shot to change Nigeria, and I pitched my tent with Peter Obi, and I haven't looked back since then. So,
All right, that's great.
mhm.
Now let's talk about the Labour Party and the structure. All
Okay.
right. So when this
Mhm.
whole movement started, some people just dismissed it as four people tweeting in a room. All right. But it has grown beyond four people tweeting in the room. There was a time it was said that it's social media frenzy and that with time it's going to wane and diminish. But so far, the obedient movement has continued to wax strong. And also at the beginning of this race, people said that the Labour Party didn't have the adequate structure to deliver Peter Obi as a winner of the elections. All right. What do you have to say about how far the Labour Party has come as a party and the force behind the Peter Obi movement?
I remember vividly well when they called us online and social media warriors, and even people, even some of my friends, they used to laugh when I talk about Peter Obi. That was back, maybe let's say June, July, and then I think I done was show my little bit that comment of four people tweeting in the room. I just laughed because um one thing we were seeing that they were not seeing, if they paid attention, was first of all, the obedient movement it's an offshoot from the NSAS movement, and a lot of those key figures, a lot of those people, the average Nigerians in diaspora and even in the country that were active during the NSAS movement, were sort of coalescing together because I'll go on Twitter Spaces and I'll see about the same kind of names or the same followers I had that were talking about NSAS, or I'll just scroll through their profile and see the NSAS, the Sorosuke sign. And um, I knew then, back then, that this was more than just an online or no structuralist. But then, to be realistic, also, Labour Party was relatively unknown. At one point, I won't lie, I actually used to mistake the Labour Party for the Nigerian Labour Congress, which for a while I had to reorientate myself. Like, wait a minute, it's a separate group. But then one thing we were seeing that they were not seeing was on those Twitter spaces, you go on the Twitter space, you have Nigerians from southwest, southeast, south, north central, northeast, northwest. Nigerians from Borno we get on the space on Twitter and talk about how they followed Peter Obi or voted for PDP in 2019 because of Peter Obi. The same thing, you hear someone from Kano say the same thing, and you hear someone from Bauchi and someone from Abuja. And then I went back and looked at the electoral map of 2019, and I saw most of the votes PDP got in 2019. If you actually do the math, we're from states that were actually friendly to Peter Obi. So we knew something was cooking, but they were so naive because they've been stuck in the way they do politics for the past 20 plus
Mm,
years. And we could see that. But we also knew there was back then there was a difference between the Labour Party and the obedient movement. People don't even till now, people don't get it. The obedient movement is what's driving Peter Obi's campaign. Labour Party is the
mm,
vehicle, is the political party because you need a political platform. If Peter Obi had joined, if he had started a new party from the ground or Kowa party, it will be the same structure you have right
mm.
now. And that structure is not a structure of governors or councillors or reps. It's a governor of ordinary Nigerians in Nigerian diaspora saying enough is enough. We want to go a different direction in 2023. So I just laugh. I laugh. I'm like, you guys are. And then luckily also the Electoral Act of 2022, if most of them spend time to read the Electoral Act of 2022, they will have understood that that old political structure that helps win elections would not play the same role this time around because of the help of beavers, the way the results are transmitted, which you can see in Osun State election, which I know it's a mess, but Osun State elections, we could see how beavers did change the political dynamics of elections in Nigeria. But I guess those people were naive. Nigerian politicians, one thing I know about them is they don't read. If they read, they would never have passed the Electoral Act of 2022. But I'm glad they did. But I laugh when people say, "Oh, we don't have political structure." Yeah. What's the structure? It's polling union agents. It's canvassers at your ward, your local government, your state level. You don't necessarily need a governor because those days of buying votes are over. Those days of people changing election results at coalition centers over because as soon as you vote at your polling unit, those results get transmitted where even those at the polling unit can go on the INEC portal and see the results live there. So I just laugh. The structure is not a Labour Party, but the obedient movement, which is millions of Nigerians ready to vote.
Okay.
Hmm.
Is this structure
Hmm.
strong enough? You're talking about the Labour Party, and you said the obedient movement is what is driving the candidacy of P2B, and of course, Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed. My question is this: is this structure strong enough to stand against the already established structures of PDP and APC and remove them from government and install a new government?
Yes, very strong enough. And I think the greatest evidence you can see is whenever you listen to any PDP or APC candidate or spokesperson go on TV, there's one name they can't keep out of their mouth. It's either Peter Obi, Labour Party, or the Obedient Movement. And that tells you if this structure wasn't strong enough, they wouldn't talk about us. For example, they don't talk about NNPP, they don't talk about any other political party, but then it's Labour Party. And yet they keep saying, I remember when Tinubu used to say it to be over his dead, but it would be an insult to talk about Ubi. And now at every other campaign stop, even online, we see the amount of propaganda and things they're pulling out, and we laugh because we know they're scared. We know they know they've lost this election. But and on the strength of the obedient movement, I think people underestimate how tired Nigerians are. Now I know Nigerians by
Mm,
nature, we necessarily don't we're not going to voice out, and those days of protesting are long gone. Nigerians have learned you have one important tool to make your voice heard, which is your PVC. And if you look at I think some of the data we were seeing was how new registration for PDP jumped when Obi moved to the Labour Party. We've also talked about, I usually go back to 2019 election. If you look at the number of registered voters and those that actually voted, there were people there were more people that had PVCs that sat at home because PDP and APC were not inspiring. They didn't have inspiring candidates. So people sat at home. You
mm,
go to our rallies, you see our rallies. We don't pay, I as an obedient, I still get shocked when I look at rally videos. I mean, Lagos was a recent concluded one. But you look at rallies in Borno and Kaduna and Kano, and you'd be like, I know we're not paying anybody. And I also have friends in APC and PDP. I mean, and they talk about how much they spend to even get 1,000 people show up at their events. So yes, I believe the obedient movement will be strong enough because I think there's a famous quote that says the power of the people is greater than the people in power. So Nigeria has I think I can't remember the stat. I think there are 90 plus million Nigerians that are below the age of 40, 18 to 40. So we have a young population that's educated, that's tired, that wants better governance. We have a population, even the older population also, that's tired of the last 20 plus years. And P2B is offering hope, and a lot of them have latched onto that hope. So yes, I laugh. I tell people one governor has one vote. A governor has one vote. A senator has one vote. A House of Representatives has one vote, just like you. And thanks to the Electoral Act, that the old culture of just being able to manipulate results, most of it is gone. I know there will be some, but most of it is gone. So yeah, I believe the obedient movement is strong enough to dislodge the current structure of criminality, like Peter Obi says. Mhm.
all right, Grace.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Derry, my question is, what are the role of diasporans in the election?
Okay. Oh yeah, it's a very interesting and unique role. Um, some of us cannot vote because we're not in Nigeria to get PVC. But for those, first of all, there are a lot of them that can vote. I have spoken to a lot of people that have booked. They have PVCs from 2019. Some even registered in 2022, but we're not planning to vote. But because of Peter Obi's emergence, there are a lot of booked flights. Secondly, I remember vividly well when Peter Obi came to Texas. I can't remember the exact month, but it was last month in 2022, and I was fortunate to meet him in Houston. And one of the key things he touched on was the role Nigerians in diaspora are currently playing in the economy of Nigeria. I believe it was 2021. I think it was like 20 or 21 billion dollars was remitted. So money sent home from Nigerians in diaspora back to Nigeria. And then, so when he came to the US, one of his key messages was, I don't have the money PDP or APC has. And I also don't need to spend that amount of money, but I do need money. I need help. So financing as one of being the key drivers of Nigerians in diaspora. I remember the first time I ever gave money on the Twitter space was I think it was 50,000. That was the first time, and it was for, I think we were then organizing rallies in various states. I remember very on. That was early, I think May June. That was even before the Labour Party kicked into gear. We had started, helping organize rally, and those money were not necessarily to pay people to come out. It was more for we need to get speakers, we need to print banners, we need to print shirts. So Nigerians in diaspora offer help when it comes to financing, also some strategy sessions because I've sat in a lot of campaign related meetings where we bring some of our experience on how things are done. Also, I also have family members at home. I have a constituency at home. I have a local government. I belong to a local government and a ward at home. And I am doing what within my own means and my resources to make sure my ward in my local government is delivered for Peter Obi, which is a part in Southwest Nigeria. I can't state the name, but it's a state in Southwest Nigeria. So we offer help when it comes to financing. We offer help when it comes to strategy. We also encourage our family members because we're sending money back home. And those people, we've seen how expensive Nigeria has gotten. Right? Back then, you send 50,000 naira, it's money. Now, 50,000 naira is not even enough to buy food. So, and you're talking to, you have classmates, you have high school mates, you have friends you grew up with, church members you grew up with. We've always also been able to influence them, and we are also ambassadors for Peter Obi in the sense of some of us we've experienced what good governance looks like. So when we share our experience and say what Peter Obi is saying and what his manifesto is saying, we live in a diaspora and we can see those policies working for people here. So what Peter Obi is trying to sell or what Peter Obi is selling to Nigerians is actually proven policy that various countries around the world have executed. Like for example,
I think your mic is mute.
can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you.
Oh, there's a delay. There's a snap. There's like a 2 seconds
Oh,
delay when I
okay,
talk or
that's
when you
cool.
talk. Yeah, yeah. So, like I was saying, we offer help financially. We provide support. We A lot of us are online. We drive Twitter Spaces. Like, I think I mentioned two support group, but I think my most active support group is the violence space. I don't know if I'll call it a support group, but where the violence space itself has been a part of. I know we've raised probably close to 70 million naira plus that I know of actively on the space, supporting various causes, whether it's people visiting IDP camps in Borno or running TV. We have radio programs, 30-minute radio programs in like 8 states in the north. We have jingle drives in the southwest and the southeast, the south. We, help recruit polling agents. So our role is large. It's large. I can't wait to when we can actually vote in the diaspora. And I know electing Peter will be a guarantee as of that.
Okay, still talking about the dashboard. Do you think Nigerian is ready for that? And
Oh
also, do
yes.
you believe that, okay, do you believe that if any candidate should win the presidential election, that they will actually implement the constitution?
I believe Nigerians are ready. I think if you look at the last 8 years has been a disaster, and I think people underestimate the suffering in Nigeria. Now, just talking to people or talking to even people that are well to do of, and there's this constant theme I hear. There's an erosion of the middle class. Um, the whether it's the naira exchange rates, whether it's inflation, whether it's insecurity, whether it's the fact that we still lack basic amenities like electricity, um, motorable roads, not white elephant projects like the second Niger Bridge that actually doesn't have any value right now, but decent roads like existing roads. I talk to people that still fly Lagos to Ibadan Expressway, and they talk about how bad the road is after 20 plus years of we spending money on that road. So yes, Nigerians are ready, and you could see that in the rallies. You can see that we do a lot of internal pollings. We also talk to people. We talk to family members, and I remember when he started from, well, he's a good man, but I don't know if they will support him too. Well, maybe you will win three states. So maybe you will win the southeast. Maybe you will win the south. Well, maybe you can win 10 states. Now it's well, if he wins, he might not have senators and reps. So we've seen the goalpost move, and we definitely believe Nigerians are ready. And I think the second part of your question is implementing the constitution. I don't necessarily think implementing the constitution is our problem. I think what we've lacked is I know now. I also know the 1999 constitution is a very flawed constitution, but I always say this: you can write a perfect constitution. It's still down to those that are implementing it. So, um, but one thing I do believe in, Peter Obi has a track record of performance. I remember when he put out a challenge months ago that if you can find any way misappropriated state funds, is going to stop campaigning. Until now, no one has found nothing. So, whether it was how we took Anambra from 26th in education to first, or him coming number one in Millennium Development Goals, or me being awarded best governor in, when it comes to road constructions or healthcare sector. Growing up, I remember watching this movies. You remember was it Bakassi Boys? And then I learned about it was actually a real group. They were terrorizing Anambra. I've had several stories, and because I remember watching those movies, and I used to think it was fiction, but people actually told me it was real. And then how Evans the kidnapper used to be a menace in Anambra, and you hear Anambrans talk about how Onisha Iweka used to be a problem, but then Peter Obi came and changed it, and so there's evidence Peter Obi has delivered on campaign promises. Like I remember there was an article I read where Peter Obi had promised when he was governor that if he fails in education, he will resign. And within 3 years, he took a number from 26 to number one. So this man has a track record. There's something we can point to compared to the likes of Tinubu has ran Lagos amok. I tell people Lagos generates $50 billion, 50 million billion naira, I think a month in revenue, give or take thereabout. If you look at Lagos, you can't point to the and they tell you this is what the state is generating. There's no development you can point to. Atiku had that one has no experience. So the only person I trust that actually has a track record that you can go and verify, like he popularly says, and see that the campaign promises he made, he actually fulfilled most of them. I think practically all of them. So yes, I do believe if Peter Obi is elected, regardless of what the situation is in Senate or National Assembly, I believe he would deliver on his key promises, which is to move Nigeria from a country that consumes to a country that produces. Now, he's not going to solve all our problems, but I believe, whether it's corruption, whether it's electricity, whether it's more funding for the healthcare, more funding for the educational sector, I believe he can definitely implement those things.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
All right. We'll take a breather here. We'll go on a very short break, but we'll be back, okay, to continue the conversation and also wrap up the conversation. We're still talking to Mr. Dari Ayinshola, popularly known as Otumba on Twitter. I've heard about the violence space, and I've been there a couple of times, and I see the work that you guys are doing. All right, we'll continue this conversation shortly. Let's go on this very short break. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
So, this is my message to the Nigerian youths. I am glad that we have this great opportunity to discuss about the future of this country, Nigeria. Nigeria belongs to all of us, but to the youths most especially. I am super proud of what the youths have done, the realization that indeed the power lies with the youth. Indeed, successive governments and leadership have failed the youth. They've dismissed their capacity, the creativity, innovation. And this is why we are we were. I am here to speak to you that not only am I proud of you, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, is super proud of you. We're proud of the movement you're leading and all the sacrifices being made for a better Nigeria. I can tell you, Peter Obi means well for Nigerian youths. He will run a youth-inclusive government and purposeful leadership that will usher in a new dawn for generations to come. Job issues, unemployment, and indeed all the other hazards that we face as a younger generation, I believe will be a thing of the past, at least reduced significantly. I'm here to remind you that we are the last lap of this race when we all need to come to the consciousness that the effort we're going to put in the next coming weeks can change our trajectory completely and positively. So I want to urge you, do what you can to keep on the fight until a better Nigeria is achieved. You need to make sure that you realize again that you're actually the one running for presidency, just using Peter Obi and Dati Baba Ahmed as symbol. We are coming for a better Nigeria. This is time to vote for Labour Party. The logo is Papa, Mama, Pikin, or LP. On that day, come out in mass, show your energy, show your creativity, do everything you need to do positively to make sure your votes count. That means wait until the end. I am thankful to God for what the Nigerian youths are doing. God bless you all. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome back to the program Diaspora Diary on Obligatory Family TV. We've been talking to Diaries Ayinsola, also known as Otumba, all the way from Houston, Texas. Diary or Otumba now. So late last year, the CBN introduced the Naira redesign policy, and one of its aim is to eliminate or perhaps reduce vote buying in the coming elections. But so far, the implementation of this Naira swap and the redesign policy has, experienced some very serious hitches, where we find the citizens, in hardship, and a lot of people cannot access cash as of today. How do you think the Naira redesign policy is going to affect the election?
Well, I think on face value and the concept of the Naira design policy, if you take out the incompetence of the APC administration, it's actually a good thing. Countries have done this in the past. I think I remember when India had this. I think India had, was it 48 hours of? It was a very short period of time where people had to submit old notes and get new notes. But the problem with the Naira policy is not the policy itself, but the implementation of the policy, which is, I think we've seen collusion between the banks itself, not necessarily the CBN, because people go to the ATM queues but can't find notes. But then you see folks that have access spending those new notes in weddings and parties and and whatnot. But I also think now from an election standpoint, it's two-way for me. I do believe, and which the the how would I put it now? The bad or the very disastrous implementation of that policy, it's a reflection of how APC is disastrous for the country, which you can see the APC presidential candidate kicking and squealing and complaining about it. Yes, and Nigerians I know are facing hardship because even my parents back home sometimes have problem trying to get cash. But I also think the APC presidential candidates kicking against it is not necessarily because of hardship. It's because there are several reports know how they've stashed money and they've stashed cash, and it's also presenting a logistical nightmare for them to swap out that old cash for new cash. Um, but I just laugh when people say, "Oh, there's hardship because of the note." No, there's been hardship before the note, and if bats or we call him Mr. Agbado, the corn master. If he actually cared about Nigerians, he wouldn't wait for this last few months to complain about hardship for Nigerians. Nigerians have been in hardship for the past 8 years, and they were silent. And he talks about it being hardship, but at the same time, you see him on the campaign trail with Buhari. So who's deceiving who? But I think overall, the policy itself is a good policy. I think it would sort of help curb some sort of vote buying. But then I also know how Nigerian politicians and the bank they connive together. But I also think what they're underestimating is the fact that people are smart. For example, I tell people to collect their money and go vote your conscience. Whatever money they offer you is your birthright. It's money that they should have spent on education, on electricity, on infrastructure. But they, knowing the only way they know how to win elections is rig elections, stockpile those money and then distribute it to people, paying 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira for 8 years of hardship. So I tell people, if they offer you money, take it. But when you go into the booth, it's between you and your conscience. And if you really believe that 10,000 naira is worth the next 4 or 8 years of your life, then vote for them. But I believe Nigerians are wiser. There are tons of videos on Twitter and Instagram on people, laughing when they get the APC package and even Obedience. I think Obedience now they do this where they intentionally go to PDP and APC rallies just to get money and laugh, and then they make videos saying, "Yes, we're in here, but we're voting for Peter Obi." So, but I think the overall policy, the implementation of the policy itself has been a disaster. It's been a disaster, and I do also believe it would have an effect on the election. But I think it's beyond vote buying. I think it's actually an insight to people. It's a reminder to people that APC is bad for Nigerians. They can basic things that other countries with more population, more complex than we have been able to successfully implement. They can't even get it right. They can't get a simple naira swap right. So it definitely has to play in the election, but I think it goes beyond vote buying. I think it's just reminding. It's that final reminder, like N6 would say, the final bobo. Like APC is just bad. It's people without ideas. It's. I mean, I don't want to wax lyrical. You know how we do in the violence space. So APC is just a reminder how bad APC is for
But I'd like
Nigerians.
to get your opinion. Do you
Uh-huh.
consider the Naira swap policy a good
Yeah,
policy?
oh, it is. It is. The policy on itself, on face value, like I said, there are several countries I can point to. The US has gone through some. Not redesign, it's a way to control money flow. It's also a way to, it forces people to, Nigerians, for example, people don't invest or put money in the bank. They tend to stash money at home, which we've seen tons of
Mhm.
videos. So what that does is it sort of and with the new, I think also so many banking reforms they've had where, with the BVN and things like that, where you can um, get a trail for money, how money is being spent, which I think is good security wise. It also helps stem corruption. So I think the policy on its face value, it's good. The problem is those that were implementing a policy are how would I put it now? It's been the implementation has been disastrous. It shows when you have only bad leadership, even the best of intentions and the best of policies gets bungled because
Mhm.
the policy on face value is good. The policy itself is good. Even Peter will be talking
Okay.
about it. It's just sad. The implementation has been sick. It's been disastrous.
All right. Let's move away from the Naira policy now.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the politics of tribe and religion, which has been used to divide Nigerians over the years. Okay, but with the candidacy of Mr. Peter Obi and Yusuf Dati Baba Ahmed, we see Nigerians from all walks of life and from all tribe and religion coming together, all right, to support the candidacy. But irrespective of this, there are still some people that would still vote based on tribe and religion. How far do you think the politics of tribe and ethnicity and religion will go, okay, in these elections?
Yeah, I think this election has been a sad and dark reminder of some of the faulty line that exists, but then no country is perfect. There are divisions everywhere. But unfortunately, we have APC and PDP that for the past 20 years, the only way they know So they get empowered. They don't govern right. They screw up the country, and then when it comes to elections, they go back to their old playbook, which is using tribes and politics. For Bat,
Mm.
for example, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, one of the first things he said when he was running for it was, "Emilokan, it's my turn." Or Yoruba
Mm.
Lokan. I'm like, seriously? Really? And then you've seen our videos of Atiku campaigning in the north, telling them it's better to have another Fulani man there. So,
Mm.
or you see how they've played, and then you look at the Muslim ticket, for example, also. I mean,
Mm.
Nigeria is a secular country. I can't imagine us having 16 straight years of, in a democracy, 16 straight years of a Muslim to another Muslim, and then you have 16 years of a Fulani to another Fulani. This is a country with over 300 diverse ethnic groups and tribes, and then you have,
Mm.
this is a nation that is secular, means you have almost equal amount of Christians and Muslims, and then you also have a large population of non-Christians and Muslims. So we see play out. For example, I know we Southwesterners that support Peter Obi, we've been called every name in the book. Oh my God, we've been called from Omoale, which is Yoruba for bastard, to all sorts of, to betrayer or dale. They've called us all sorts of names. But the more they say that, I've also seen those around Peter Obi. I keep saying it. There's when you go on I'll go to use Twitter as an example. When you go on an APC space, I bet you it's 99% Yorubas. You go on a PDP space, it's usually some PDP paid political jobbers, and you typically more, Northerners. But you come on Peter Obi's space, and if there are 10 people in the space, I bet you could point to someone from every region in the country. So when it comes to faith also, I mean, we have prayer spaces where we pray you lead the Christian prayer, you read the Islamic prayer. You come in spaces where one Yoruba speaks, the next man is a Southeasterner, the next man is someone from Akwa Ibom, then someone from Niger comes to speak, and then you know, this campaign has really shown. I used to think the North was one monolith where it was just houses full of needs, and then you start hearing different tribes from whether it's from the Middle Belt or even in Kaduna or Borno, and you're like, wow, I didn't know Nigeria was this diverse. So
Mm.
it's unfortunate that APC and PDP are playing the tribalistic, bigoted, and religious card. But Peter Obi is the true Nigerian. This is a man. I think is one of his classmates was, is it the emir of Sokoto? I think one of the top monarchs in the north. You hear about one of the first people, and this is the true story. One of the first people that actually that convinced me that Peter Obi was a man for Nigeria was, there was the guy named Umar from Castina, and he's actually in Castina, and he was talking about how he never really wanted Peter Obi until he ran into some guy, and the guy was telling him to go check out the rice factory in Kano, and he was listening to all the things Peter Obi, the schools he has built in the north, and he went and did his research. He said he physically traveled to the rice mill in Kano and was talking to people, and then I remember when one APC guy also asked us a question one day, that why does Peter Obi not have his headquarters in Alhambra? That why is it that the headquarters of most of his companies are in different parts of the country? And I just paused and laughed. I said, wait a minute, that tell you is actually the most detribalized candidate, because this is a
Mm.
man that could have just kept his business interest in his own state and say, let my
Mm.
people benefit. But this is a man that spread his business tentacles all across the country. He has friends everywhere. The same thing for Dr. Dati too. So, we are the most detribalized set of people in this group. I know too. You look at our support groups. The names, and we talk about the experiences, the music we listen to. I know more Hausa songs than I've known than the last. I've probably started to pick up some Hausa words now, or Fulani words. Just because of the amount of time I've spent in the campaign talking to Northerners. So but it's sad we're still going through that, but I believe a lot of that would change come 2023. I think you have 15 days or 14 days to the election, when Nigeria becomes one tribe, which is the tribe that wants Nigeria to work. Now, I'm not saying I won't stop being a proud Yoruba man. I'm a proud Yoruba man, but we understand our tribe has nothing to do with why we want the country to move forward. And even if you go to just equity, even if it's for equity, I keep saying this, and some people laugh when I say this. Um, if you want to do it based on pure equity, it's
Mm.
the time for the Southeasterners to run
Mm.
Nigeria. But the Southeasterners didn't even present us. They presented us the best candidate, takeaway tribe. This, so I just laugh when, okay, even if it's, yeah, we know it's your turn, but at the same time, they presented the candidate that is not running based on it's my turn. They presented the candidate
Exactly.
that is the best candidate when it comes to track record. No one has campaigned like Peter Obi. This man has been everywhere. He's talking to all Nigerians. Uh, you know, I think before I ran up, I remember when he told the story of him going to Borno and southern Borno, and you had the Nigerian military, the Nigerian intelligence agency, even the security operatives telling him not to go to Borno, southern Borno. And Peter Obi
Mhm.
said something that struck me. He said, "There are Nigerians living in Borno." And I think he said he asked the pilot, "Can you land this plane there?" Yes. He said, "I'll go there where Nigerians are." I remember him in Christmas going to IDB camps in Benue and Abuja. I didn't even know there were IDB camps in Abuja. So
Mhm.
that just tells you this man is detribalized. He's a proud Catholic, but is not going to run the country based on, I'm trying to make the country better for Christians. Like it typically says, that no Christian is buying bread cheaper than a Muslim, or Muslim buying
Mhm.
bread cheaper than Christians. We're all Nigerians, and we all want a better country. So, it would have some effect, but I don't see it playing out as people think it would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Grace.
Yeah, Mr. Derry, that was a great one. Now let's talk about INEC. Do you think INEC is ready to deliver a free, fair, and credible results?
That's a loaded question. If I say exactly how I feel about INEC, I think I could wax so lyrical about INEC. But I think INEC has no choice. And I think INEC officials are also Nigerians. And they have family members and they have friends. And they move around the country and they listen to what people are saying. And they can see people want change. And they understand where this is the most existential election probably since 1999. Or no, I think 1992 or 1993 elections is probably, yeah. So they understand the gravitas this election holds. So whether it's by design, whether it's by Nigerians telling them we need change in direction, they have no choice but to offer us fair election. Now, that's not gonna. It's gonna come with some bottlenecks of issues here and there. But I think overall, I sincerely believe overall, and I pray I'm right, and I know I'll be right. I think Nigerians would force INEC to give us a fair and fair election, which is, and the way we would do that is by coming out, you know, whether it's the STS poll or several polls, it points to one factor. When people come out to vote in numbers and they cast their vote and defend their vote, I use the word defend their votes, there's nothing INEC can do. They're Nigerians, I keep saying it. They're not aliens living in some, you know, distant country. So they know, they also see the handwriting of the wall. They talk to their family members, they talk to their friends, they talk to their drivers, they see people on the streets, and people are telling them they're tired, and they know they have no choice but to deliver a free and fair election. Now, I wouldn't say they've been perfect. There's been a lot of screw up, whether it's from PVC registration to people actually picking up their PVCs to, I remember vividly well when they released the voters register, where we had to, some of the efforts from some support groups had to lead the efforts in cleaning up those registers, and then whether it's like the NUC allowing students to go back home to vote. So there's been some bottlenecks here and there, but I think overall, I think INEC would give us a free and fair election. They have no choice. I put it this way. I don't think they have a choice. They have to. And I think the onus lastly falls on Nigerians. Even Nigerians are tired, what they need to do is come out. I keep saying it. You can't buy, PDP will probably budget to buy 200 votes in one polling unit. If 500 people come out to, if 500 people show up in that same polling unit, or you're having close to 70, 80% turnout in each polling unit, then you can't, how do you want to rig it? And then also, luckily, thanks to the Electoral Act, gone are the days of ballot snatching. Gone are the days of taking a result sheet from a polling unit to a ward coalition center to a local government or to a state coalition center. People are going to stay there. They're going to vote. They're going to watch their votes being counted. They're going to see the electoral officer upload the result of their vote, and they can check while they are still at the polling unit if the election result you announced is what you uploaded. So no one can come and snatch any ballot boxes because the Electoral Act, you know, empowers INEC to conduct a rerun without necessarily going to court, or So I think INEC has no choice than to give us a free and fair election.
Okay, let's talk about you personally. As an IT project manager, what have you done with your skills so far to make sure that Mr. Peter will emerge as the winner?
Ah, that's okay. I think mine is probably around organizing. I think I'm part of so many, and project managers. Some people say all we do is attend Zoom meetings and talk. So which is one of the things I do on Twitter Spaces is talk. But then I think the resources for my job is how I'm able to support the campaign, whether it's the campaign directly or whether it's the various support groups that make up the obedient movement. We've also, we set up websites. There's some things I can't say publicly. There's some things we run in the, behind the scenes that it's contributing one way or the other. Um, but it's overall more organizing, putting things together, providing strategy. But um, you know, my skills are people skills, which is talking, which is why I co-host some spaces and help lead some, whether it's funding drives or support group drives, things like that. So that's how I can say I put my skills to use. This is actually funny. I'm going to ask one of my physician friends, doctor friends, how's he using the skills for Peter Obi? I'm going to ask you that. Like, I
Yeah,
just going to
because
tell
a
you,
lot
Baba.
of people there, a lot of
Hmm.
people there. There was this lady I know, she's a singer. So during their church service, they usually have those groups singing and stuff, preaching the gospel of Mr. Peter B. So that's it.
Hmm.
Everyone is using their skills right now.
Yes, yes, yes. We're all using our skills, and I think I want to say this. I think it. I've never been more proud to be a Nigerian this last few months, and I say that
Mm.
because of the amount of obedience I've met. The women unit movement is unique, and I know some people are writing books. I really hope we, after the winner is announced, which I believe Peter will be in a landslide, like we usually say. I really believe we need to go back and document this movement and examine, because I've met Nigerians both in Nigeria and in diaspora. Why one common thing I run across obedience is they're usually people that have careers, they have jobs, even if they might not be financially comfortable right now. When they talk about their aspirations and skills and where they want their life to be, you get inspired. It's I think
Mm.
it's even in the US here. I say this, if you run into 10 IT people in the US, I usually make a joke. I remember last joke. So they told me they had hired a new software developer and they said it was black. I said, "Oh, he's Nigerian." And the guy looked at me and laughed. I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Yeah, it has to be Nigerian." I said, "For every 10 black people in tech, IT in the US, yeah, 8 of them are Nigerians." And luckily, the guy came
Wow.
up. His name was a Yoruba. It was a Yoruba boy. I just laughed. So, but and whether it's Nigerians in diaspora, Nigerians in the U, or Nigerians in Nigeria itself, you see this common theme among obedience. They have skills, they have careers, they have aspiration. They're educated, they're sophisticated, they're smart people, independent thinkers. People think the obedient movement is just um, one branch of people following a blindless leader. People don't know how many amounts of fights we have internally when it comes to arguments and debates. we, we all just come on Twitter space and present a united front. But when we go back into our little corners and talk and argue and have debates on economic points and things, I just laugh like, yes, the best of Nigeria that Nigeria has to offer is what the obedient movement encapsulates all that, what the best of Nigeria has to offer, whether it's from the campaign group itself, the PCC list. I remember, listening to the director of the Big Tent, Ibrahim Abdul Karim, or Isaac Bellamy, I see the assistant DG, or you just go the list down the line. Um, Nigerians in media spaces. You listen to Nigerians give submissions, and I'm like, wow, my God, this is the best of what Nigeria has to offer. Which is why I believe Nigeria
Mm-hmm.
will work. And some people, when people say, how am I so sure Peter Obi will deliver? I said, his followers, because
Mm.
he understands his followers and he knows we're not
Mm.
people that will take BS from him. we're not going to take that. And he knows we're not going to keep quiet. He knows we're going to
Mm.
talk and we're going to give him feedback. Man, I don't know if I'm allowed to use this word. I remember when Peter Obi came on Twitter to tell us not to stop criticizing people. And we told him, Mr. Peter Obi, sir, mind your business. Your job is to be campaigning. Let us go and do the cursing for you. We know that we know the, we I remember we dragged the word Twitter language. Nigeria, we dragged Peter Obi one time because there are things we know, sir, you can't say. Let us say it for you. Don't worry.
Mm.
You keep selling the good message. Who will do that? Who will do the cursing for you?
The
That's why sometimes
violence.
yeah, vow. So it's not bad because people say it's violence, the violence. We will give you the
Mm.
intellectual gospels. We'll do it. We'll handle it. So,
Yeah.
and he also understands. I think that will be this. Peter will be winning. Will be the first time Nigerians are picking their president. And a
Mm.
man, I also believe. Just talking to him, even I've been on a couple of Zoom calls meeting with him, and he's the humility is crazy. Like I don't know why he doesn't have a leadership school yet. I don't know why.
Mm. True,
Because
true.
yeah, you listen to and you hear people even on the campaign trail talk about how he waits before everybody leaves before he flies away. And then the energy. Like I don't know
Mm.
how he does it. I had people went to the Lagos rally and they're already complaining of being tired. Peter B will visit 5 states in some days. He like
Mm.
you wake up in the morning and Peter Obi is in Warri, and in 3 hours is in Benin, and then you see here is in Kano and Abuja and back to Lagos. Sir, how are you doing it?
Indeed.
So it tells you he has a commitment. It tells you he takes this job seriously. And
Yeah.
and he's not going to disappoint Nigerians, and we will
Yeah.
not let him disappoint us. We will not let him
Exactly.
disappoint us because we're going to hold him accountable. We're going to defend him and hold him accountable
Sure.
also at the same time. So yeah.
Great, great. I was going to come to all of that, but I'm glad that touched on all of that, holding him accountable when he eventually assumes office. We don't have so much time anymore on the program, but I'd like you in 2 minutes to just respond to this. We have about 11 days to the presidential elections. What more do you think the Labour Party and the obedient people need to do, okay, as a last minute push to this campaign to ensure that our principal wins this election?
Okay, for the Labour Party perspective, I think there are two concerns for me. It's polling unit agents. It's making sure we have our acts together. Making sure we have contacts of every polling unit agent. Providing whatever remuneration we can for them. And then I think that's more because I've always said this. We necessarily do not look to the Labour Party for so many things. The only thing we want them to worry about is polling unit agents. We've been driving this campaign. I will keep driving this campaign, which is why obedience. Right now, there are several. I think it's rural sensitization is the key part for us. It's rural
Mm.
sensitization. I know we'll do well in urban areas. Like it's clear. I think the last thing we want to do is let's because and PDP APC where they typically from past where they typically tend to want to buy votes or do the electioneering mischief is usually in rural areas. So and one of the ways is I know there's a rally coming up on Saturday. It's targeted more at the local government ward level. It's a 100 million march is to get people to come out. And what that rally does is let people know Peter Obi is running on the Labour Party, the Labour Party logo, which is Mama, Papa, Pikin, how to vote, how to tampering on that vote. Um, and the rallies. I also tell people, if you're an obedient and you know your polling unit already, and you don't know 10 people in your polling units, there's something wrong with you. Whether it's downloading the town hall app or just walking around trying to figure out those that are in your polling units because we understand APC, especially in some parts of the country, they're going to try their stupid shenanigans. So it's better we start organizing ourselves in groups where don't go alone to a polling unit, go with a group of people. Whether it's campaigning or canvassing, don't go alone, go with a group of people. And just rural sensitization is where because I believe this election is down to turnout. I say this. I said I'm not gonna wait. Me by 3, 4 p.m. No, 3, 4 p.m. typically when voting is over. It's when I don't even need the results to come in. All we need to see is number of accredited voters. If we get the turnout, no one is going to come close. This election is going to be won in a landslide. And I know people think it's tongue
Mm.
in cheek, but yes, it's down to turnout. If we turn out to vote, come out in our numbers, which I believe Nigerians will come out to vote. So right now, rural sensitization and one of the, what is door-to-door campaign, which a lot of obedience are doing. And I tell every obedient should be a campaign canvasser. I always laugh when people say, let's hire campaign canvassers. No, you're a campaign canvassers. Whether you work in a bank or you sell or whatever you do, and you believe in Peter Obi, everybody you come across is like evangelism. Professor Chris used to say this, like the evangelist in the whole days. It's just talk about Peter Obi everywhere, everywhere. Remind people, not just talk about him. Remind people this is the Labour Party logo.
Mm.
One, I know violence space. We've been running radio jingles, which is where I also tell people to. And you don't necessarily have to, if you think you have the means, the resources, just whatever radio station you like to listen to in your area, just pick up the phone and call them. They'll give you rates. If you want, you can even record a jingle ad on your phone. I think people need to go away from the sophistication of going to a studio to record radio jingles. No, you can pick up the phone and record a radio jingle. A simple, short, 30 seconds message. Vote people Peter Obi of the Labour Party, Mama Papa Pekin logo. That's it. Like in whatever language, whatever area, and you can send to a radio station. You can pay for radio jingles. Some radio stations charge you 5,000 naira for 30 seconds jingle. Some 20,000 naira. You pay for 2, 3 in a day. It goes beyond. So it's
Mm.
just it's sensitization. Labour Party,
Yeah.
please take care of the polling unit agents register. That's all we need you for. That's all we really needed you for. We don't need you to do anything else. Just make sure. And I also know obedience. I tell obedience this also. You are the best polling agent, and this is actually I tell this is why. Labour Party is going to have its polling agent. All other parties are going to have their polling agent, but I'm pretty sure in most polling units, especially in certain regions of the countries, obedience will dominate those polling units. So watch your polling unit agents. I tell you, you have to watch your polling unit agent. So even if people complain, oh, what if they bought this polling unit agent? Baba, if a polling agent comes to a location and there are 300 plus obedience there, and he knows they are the majority, and they're letting him know we're in the majority, he can't do anyhow now because he sees the people there. So you know, so polling agent, rural sensitization. I think it's rural areas. That's where and PDP is playing this devilish game of telling people Peter Obi is still in PDP, and then they also talk
Mm.
about he has a chance of winning. I'm like, seriously, like how does that even make sense? Our candidate is the best and the easiest candidate to sell in elections.
Yeah.
This reminds me of when Obama was running, and it also has
Mm.
similarity to when Trump was running. And people say, why do you make the comparison? Obama, I remember very, very well, there was this hope, there was this sense of relief people had. Trump, no one, Obi is campaigning like Donald Trump, regardless of what I know, whatever political aisle side of divide you fall on. But one thing about I remember very well in 2016 in Trump, we all thought Hillary was going to win, but then you talk to people silently and they'll tell you they're voting for Trump, and you wonder like, wait a minute, I like everybody felt Hillary was going to win, and Trump is doing what Peter Obi is doing what Trump did. He was going to areas where people typically don't visit, and he's going there and he's campaigning and he's talking to them. And obedience online, I tell them this all the time. For any one obedient you see online, there's 10,000 you're not seeing. For every one obedient you see at rallies, there's 10,000 that can't come out because
Mm.
they're working or
Mm.
they're scared of saying who they support. And especially I know very well the Southwest. You know, one of
Mm.
my in-laws talked about the Southwesterner, works in Lagos, and he talked about how he has a birthday party coming up for his kid. And I was joking. I asked him how many obedience are coming to his birthday party. He said, "My brother, there are more obedience than APC supporters." I said, "Really?" I said, "How many Southeasterners or Southerners you have?" Said, "No." I said, "They are all Yorubas." This is the guy that used to tell me we'll be lucky if we win 3 states. To now telling me,
Wow.
well, I have a birthday party invitation. That he said, this is funny, and I want to say, he said, I stopped talking politics with my friends because I discovered I was pursuing most of my friends away. I said, why? He said, because I like Tinubu. He said he noticed that he wanted to keep his friendship. He had to stop talking about to his friends because so, and this is all Southwesterners. So
Oh my.
there are more of us. And in my submission, Femi Fanikawede said this, and people did not pay attention. Even though I do not like that man, but he said something early on. I think it was a bit where he said, "There are obedience everywhere. Your driver's obedient. Your back teller is obedient. Your
Mm,
back manager is
mm,
obedient. Your gate man is obedient. The help in your house. Your friends. You know, even politicians talk about how their kids are obedient. I remember I was in the
true.
government of a new state. So we are more than them. There's a lot more. There's so many. We used to say silent Trump voters. There's so many silent obedience. So many of them that have felt the hardship for the past 8 years, and they will speak and speak loudly on February 25. And the world will hear us. Even the international community is ready for us. Nigeria is the best hope for Africa. What is going to happen on 25th in Nigeria is going to reshape the direction for Africa as a continent itself. I know from starting from Southwest, from West Africa itself. I know our neighbors will look at us and say, yes, Nigeria's
Mm,
time has finally come. And,
mm,
so I believe, and I tell we have no choice. You know, Nigeria cannot continue as it's currently constituted if things don't change. So
mm.
it's an existential election for us, and we
Exactly.
believe Peter will be winning a landslide. And I know we use that word landslide because we're manifesting it, we're working towards it, and we achieve it. So
Thank you so much, Otumba. I think we'll leave it at that. We are going to achieve this victory that we've been working towards all this time. All right, this is where we draw the curtain onto this episode. Want to appreciate you, Otumba, for joining us all the way from Houston, Texas. Thank you for the time that you spent with us. Thank you for the work that you're doing. We're looking forward to the 100 million man match that is going to happen this weekend. I believe it's on Saturday, and
yes,
it's across the globe. So it's not just Nigeria. So we'd like to see videos, okay, from you from the 100 million man match across the globe and the one that's happening in Texas where you are, of course. All right, this is where we drop it. Thank you so much, Mr. Otumba.
thank you so much.
All right, Grace. There's so much hope
I'm
in the
telling
air.
you, yeah.
Okay, people are very optimistic. Like Otumba mentioned, there's going to be a landslide that is like obvious victory for
Yeah.
Peter Obi and Yusuf Dati. Do you share
Exactly.
the same opinion?
Yeah, sure, I do. We don't even need to wait for the INEC to bring out the results. Yeah, that's it. So you just have to be looking like as long as they have a massive outcome out. So I hope so.
Yeah, so we're also encouraging everyone to, go out, prepare to go out and vote on election day. This is not the time to stay in your houses when you have your PVC.
Yeah.
So as long as you have your PVC, please find your way to your polling unit and cast your vote. It is your right. All right, this is where we draw the curtain on today's episode. It's Valentine's Day, people. So from all of us here,
Yeah.
I'm wishing you a happy
Happy
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's
It's the day
Day.
of to show love, right?
Not just to only your boo. Show love to everyone around you.
Indeed, that's right.
You can reach out to the prison, the motherless, all those. Yeah, you can reach out to everyone.
Yes. I'm surprised that you didn't have a touch of red or white. What happened today? Are you usually dressed on red?
Nothing happened.
Nothing
Yeah.
happened. It's celebrate you. All right. Don't forget to follow us on our social media handles at Obidati Family TV. All right. You can drop your comments about the show, about anything that we discussed today. Just drop your comments in the comment section of any of our social media platforms. It's right there on your screen. You can also follow us individually. And mine is at official PCatch, official PKACH across all social media platforms.
Your name is Longo.
It's not. What about you?
Okay, you can follow me on Facebook at Ife Amar, then Instagram at Signal Empire.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. This is where we call it a day on the episode Diaspora Diaries. Until we come your way again tomorrow, a new Nigeria is at hand. Bye for now.